according to my sources in St. Joseph, Missouri, the Kansas City Chiefs will be putting on pads for the first time this offseason, beginning tomorrow morning. Is that going to stop us from making sweeping judgments about what we've seen so far? No, absolutely not. This is a podcast. But is it going to feel just a little bit more like football tomorrow? It sure is. Except it's going to be like 100 degrees. And frankly, I just hope Nate's still here on Tuesday. Let's get ready for the pads!
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Hello and welcome into Only Weird Games. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, Nate Taylor, and actually, you can't see it, this little sock puppet I have over here. Hey guys, what's up? This isn't going to come back to bite me at all. That was actually Mickey Mouse, which is what the Las Vegas Raiders are as an organization. Playing that one.
Who made the phone call, right? Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not seen this by now, I'm sure somebody screen grabbed it, of course.
Yeah,
but
the original tweet is gone.
The tweet,
the copies live.
The tweet's gone.
Pete Sweeney just tweeted out, has the Chiefs week 8 line moved yet? it's gonna move by like 3 points, where it's like, by God, they better pray that Xavier Worthy isn't what they think he is and that Hollywood Brown is injured or something, because otherwise they're gonna hang 70 on the Raiders.
Now
Sorry,
look,
go ahead.
Now look, I don't know who any of these guys are, which is a problem.
This is a rookie. This was a rookie today.
Oh, thank you. Because
Max pulled him aside.
It's clearly young
by
guys
his neck
doing young things. I mean,
yeah,
they're not
fun.
They're not even in pads, and obviously it's a Kermit the Frog with some curly hair added in what looks to be a Chiefs jersey that my dog Maple should be in.
Yeah, very pet-sized jersey. I also just for the facts of it all, there's like Sharpies on the. I believe a fan brought this to get signed or something. And yet, as you were, Nate, please finish your thought / warning / prediction of the future.
Clip went around, and unfortunately, this was not a clip produced and video, taped and produced and put out there by the NFL. So, we have, Jamar Chase forever in internet history saying what he doesn't want to say. But these players, of course, have put together the I'm here in their own version of Kermit the Frog's voice when they've, as far as you're telling me, Josh, they've never even played this man yet.
Yeah, I believe what happened here is that a fan brought this
phone call. And said,
this rookie picks it up and sock puppets it a little bit.
Sure. He's just having fun. He's a 22-year-old being stupid, doesn't mean anything by it, and it doesn't matter. And that's awesome. Sorry.
But also you can see it now, right? Like, yeah. Mahomes escapes down the sideline, 5, goal line, touchdown. Is he talking with his hand?
Why is he? Yeah.
Why is he clapping his fingers and thumb together? Is he talking, yapping at the Raiders sideline?
And then in the post-game press conference, Nate, ask me a question about that. Me celebrating 7 touchdowns by doing something weird with my hand. Go ahead, ask me about it. I'll be Patrick Mahomes.
7th round rookie, Tucker says.
Ooh. Patrick, it's hard to tell on the replay and watching it, but can you explain just what were you thinking with the celebration after that touchdown in the fourth quarter?
I don't really put too much thought into celebrations or anything like that. I don't know. I just blacking out a little bit, just having fun. I'm not even really sure what I did. If to be honest, I guess I don't really know what you mean, but every day we go in there, we just you're always fired up. You're excited to be out there. You're always trying to get a little bit better every day. And we were able to fortunately get into the end zone against a great team. So no, I'm not really sure what you mean. It was just just having fun out there.
Hold on. Just real quick, just a quick follow up. Patrick, I have to ask this, of course. Are you saying this isn't in any relation to let me check my notebook here. July 25th with a guy I've never heard of for the Raiders making a mockery of you as Kermit the Frog. Are you telling me that that this is
Oh,
not this is not in relation to that.
When you mention it, yeah, I mean, I saw that. They're just having fun. People say things they say. I guess I hadn't even really thought about that in a while. It's just kind of funny. But nah, you just get out there and you're having fun with your teammates, and you just kind of go out there and just do whatever. There's really nothing into it. Just having some fun out there. Really fortunate to get into the end zone for the 7th time today. And we just really had fun. It was a really good game. But, we're looking forward to getting back in against them. They're a great team, and it was a lot of fun.
That happens in week 8, and then in week 14 week 13 when the Raiders come to Kansas City, his pregame fit is going to have like marionette strings like dragging behind him. It's like, oh no, it's just fashion. I don't know, it's just
yeah. What do you mean? That's my favorite. Like with the Bears counting to 4 thing, and I'm like, and then afterwards the audacity. Well, I don't know. I was just counting. No reason. I just decide to randomly count. I have counting Tourette's. Like, I don't know what he thinks people are going to believe, but this is fun to me. And by the way, I enjoy this. Like the friendly trash talk thing, the Jamar Chase. I'm not saying his name. That was awesome. I enjoy that. Incredible. It makes sports great, but it's objectively fun living in this time period of Chiefs fanhood where there's no guarantees. You never know. The Raiders, they got a great defender. They've got a great defensive line. They might do really well against Chiefs. Who knows what might happen? It's impossible to say. Maybe the Chiefs will repeat their same offensive struggles from last year and they won't be able to go scorched earth. But man, if you're the Raiders, you're hoping man, I really hope their offense struggles because otherwise they are going to score 40. It's just such a fun time because Brett Coleman, who I love, I mean, this is the time period we're living as Chiefs fans. He tweets, as we all know, definitely nothing bad ever happens to a team that gives Patrick Mahomes even the slightest reason to get angry. That's the time period we're living in where we get to be like, oh, you shouldn't have done that.
Guys.
No,
he might wear green socks at practice that week. Like, we got to really expand our boundaries of what may be possible in the revenge tour of this.
Right. Yes. Let's not forget that in his own right, a Hall of Famer himself decided in the biggest game of the season to toy with Patrick Mahomes' dropbacks in pregame warmups, and that wasn't Lamar Jackson. It was the kicker.
Yeah.
So look, everybody learns at their own pace, kids. Everybody learns at their own pace. I just understand that, whoever made that phone call to take that video down, you idiot. They have tried and the mission has already failed. It was fruitful to begin with. Once that video made it to someone who was associated with Patrick Mahomes, it was over. So thanks for playing. And it wasn't like they weren't already motivated based on what happened on Christmas Day, but I gotta imagine that there are going to be some wrinkles coming out of the bye week,
man.
In mid-October.
Don't let that game get out of reach.
Yeah,
because the only time we've ever seen Andy do weird things, like genuinely, normally Andy's not a run up the score guy. He's not a whatever, except against divisional opponents. It's always against Denver or Vegas. Sorry, Chargers. I don't know what to say.
Every Chargers game is close in the last.
That is true.
Really, the last however many years. Even the Mexico City game. Chiefs. Ring of Honor legend Dan Sorensen had to end that in the end zone. But
I forgot about that.
So most of the Chargers games have been close. I think the last blowout that I can really remember is Patrick's start in 2018 as the starting quarterback, where I think they scored in the high 30s, and I just remember Phillip Rivers realizing that the division is no longer in reach, and that was on opening day in a soccer stadium in Los Angeles with my wife just in the corner over there being like, yeah, this is why don't they do football in soccer stadiums anymore? And just realizing, ma'am, do you not realize he threw for like 4 touchdowns today? And anything he does now will be memorable. So yeah.
I can't believe they just deleted the tweet. It's so funny.
Also shout out to Anita, obviously a longtime listener, watcher, voyeur, who says Bobby, being in relation to Bobby Stroop, Bobby saw it, and that's all that matters.
Oh
and
no, Bobby saw it.
Once Bobby sees it, why even make the phone call? I mean, shout out to the Raiders, who I guess have some level of decor and respect, but it's too late. It's
too late. Mahomes and Crosby clearly have a pretty good back and forth mutual respect thing going. They'll go after one another, but they clearly respect one another, which makes sense. Crosby's a great player, one of the best DNs in the league. Terrorized the Chiefs on Christmas Day. Like, my God. Except Juwan Taylor, who actually won the majority of that matchup, but we're not ready to talk about that. Yeah. But anyway,
well, we did talk about that several shows ago.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but still. So there's respect there. I just don't understand. Like, here's what I don't get. And maybe part of the thing, maybe the reason the Bengals were able to beat the Chiefs 3 times in a row a couple of years ago was because they weren't afraid, right? They're just like, no, we're just coming out here, whatever. Maybe that's a good idea. But I just remember back in, 21, the Arrowhead stomp on the Chiefs logo incident.
I forgot
where the Raiders came out in pregame and stomped on, and they lost. The
easiest game I've ever covered as a reporter.
The Chiefs were up 35-0.
Yeah, easiest game I've ever covered. It was over the moment they went into the locker room before kickoff. It was over. I mean,
and again, maybe you play not scared, and maybe that's a way to go, because you can't be scared here. But this really, so much of this, it's just such a reminder that we live in a time where when the Chiefs quarterback gets insulted in a kind of a funny way, that he's been part of those jokes before. He's messed around with
Andy
jokes.
Reid has a Kermit impression that he has done too. Like we've covered that, right?
Yeah.
Like that's out there.
Yeah. We live in a time where that becomes national news because everyone's like, are you serious? Why would you do that? He is the Michael Jordan of the modern NFL. He is that guy. And that is such an incredible, what a time to be alive. This is so great. As the Chiefs go for a three-peat, I mean, I want their offense to get back on track so bad. It occurred to me as I was writing about training camp, and I know we're going to pivot to that. It occurred to me how awesome the Chiefs offense really has been literally every year until last year. And we're all kind of going in. It was weird to me how quickly I readjusted to the Chiefs offense being okay, but not great. Like this offseason, I'm like, well, we'll see how the offense does. It's like, well, the norm is awesome. Last year we had an exception. I guess we'll see what happens. And man, if you're the Raiders especially, but really any team in the NFL is like, okay, our hope is that the exception was how great the defense was last year, and maybe the offense doesn't get much better. Like, that's the hope.
And a little bit of turnover luck, which has always been the case when you play the Chiefs, right?
Quite true.
I do feel a little bad for this rookie who I think was handed something that he put on his hand and then recorded, and now he's going to welcome to the NFL, bud. It started before you put pads on. Your welcome to the NFL moment may have been a phone call from Mark Davis going on right now. That's not. You don't want to be welcomed to the NFL by Mark Davis in any way, shape, or form. I mean, let's talk about camp. The pads do come on tomorrow, and all 3 of us have a few guys we're like most excited to see and to talk about. And listen, hey, both of you and for Tucker and for the audience, I just want to warn you because this is really out of character for us, but I think all of the topics on the rundown are going to kind of bleed into each other. Just if I had to guess, I know that's very different from our usual, very disciplined show work.
Correct.
But pads are coming on tomorrow. We'll talk about some guys that we really want to see in that when you can bring the physical aspect of football, which I've been told is an important aspect of football, bring that into the mix. And oh man, I hate when Nate looks at his phone and his eyes get so wide that I can tell he's looking at something, but I can't tell if he wants to talk about it or not.
It's just more of what we've discussed earlier.
Okay, good. Great. Fantastic.
Yeah. Wow.
It's gonna have a little life cycle, I think.
Yes.
But
yes, it
let's
is.
let's start looking ahead to tomorrow. We'll obviously be able to look back on what these showdowns begin to show you over the course of the weekend, and we'll get that on Tuesday. But Nate, give me the first guy that comes to mind when you think, all right, this guy actually has, and we're gonna pick guys that have a chance to kind of move their standing in the team.
Yes.
I don't really care what Travis Kelce looks like wearing pads. I and Nate think he still loves football, and that's good enough for me.
Right.
So I want to know who's on the bubble, who has a chance to make up some room on the roster. Seth wasn't listening, which is for the best. Nate, who do you want to start with in terms of padded practice? Who's going to have your eyes first?
Yeah, I'm going to keep the hype train going, ladies and gentlemen. I know that this may come as a surprise to you. We all know the usual names. I'm not sure. I think Tucker will lend me a hand here. Even his attempt to try to catch that one-handed pass yesterday was interesting. But I'm ready to see Jared Wiley in pads, kids. I'm ready. This is one of the last steps where if he can, produce highlights in pads, then we're ready to go. I know we're going to talk about some other players, but I think in terms of his viability as a run, supporter in the running game from a blocking standpoint, and him making contested catches with pads on, I think I'm interested to see. So that's the first name that I'm sure no one really is really jumping towards, but he's someone that I think has a considerable chance to be, I won't say a difference maker, but a potential role player who can make the occasional splash. And so the first step is demonstrating that in pads, because that is something that Patrick has sort of taught us through much of the offseason program. Once he realized that he can run routes really well, he's got above average athleticism, and he catches just about everything in his vicinity. So let's see if you can continue to do those things in pads as well.
Seth, you had Wiley as one of your 11 names to watch, which you can go read right now. The Chief of the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com. We're all in on Jared Wiley. I'm not saying we're all in, but the three of us are all feeling some very similar things about what Jared Wiley could do in this offense, right, Seth?
Yes, he's one of the guys I mentioned. Some of it is stuff that I can justify in terms of he's got really good size. That was one of the first things when the Kelce brothers were talking about him way back when on the podcast after he got drafted. Travis mentioned that he'd met him at some point, and he was like, "Whoa, big dude!" Like some version of that. Like, and he is. I mean, he's a big dude. He has Noah Gray's athletic profile. But he's like 3 inches taller and 15-ish pounds heavier. And he looks, and he actually looks like he could probably add another 15, 20 pounds to that frame. But he moves explosively. You see acceleration, looks kind of smooth. These are all good reasons to believe in him. That because with tight ends, none of us knows what we're talking about coming out of college. It's always like, although Sam Laporta, that was one where like I watched him, I was like, this is pretty obvious, right? Like, I mean, he just looks really good. Bauer's same thing, which is a bummer. But I just got a feeling. Just got a feeling about him. And so I'm totally there with you. That's why he was one of the whole 11 that made the cut. Yeah. And I listed a bunch of honorable mentions at the end because I couldn't help myself.
I think right now my not even, I don't know if it's best case scenario, my optimistic, realistic hope for Jared Wiley is that he's going to have like 5 plays this season that we're all going to lose our minds about. If it's down the seam or in the red zone or whatever. We've talked about tight end usage. I think Tucker and I have done like 3 shows on tight ends now. It feels like I can't remember where I've even said all of this. But Noah Gray is going to be tight end 2 throughout the course of this year. Irv Smith is around, and we'll see if they carry 4 tight ends or get him to the practice squad or whatever. But I'm absolutely with you guys. I cannot wait for Jared Wiley. And Nate, at some point during training camp, you're going to need a superlative. We've got a white horse on a sandy beach. I don't know what Jared Wiley is going to bring, but once the pads come on,
yes,
I just need the creative juices to get flowing.
We'll get there. I'm taking applications as we speak. But yeah, we'll get there. We got plenty of time. Another player that I just want to remind people of in terms of expectation now that we're in the most important portion of training camp starting tomorrow is you're going to see clips, guys. one clip does not determine how that player is doing at camp. It's just an example of what is capable or what needs to be improved on immediately. So you're especially going to see that in the one-on-ones with the offensive lineman and defensive lineman, which leads me to the player that I am most interested in watching. And Kyle in the comments has put him out there.
It's also the first one I was going to ask Seth about. Let's go, guys. We're on the same page.
Felix Anadike Uzama is the most important player to watch in pads of guys that are question marks and or, as I wrote in The Athletic a few weeks ago, where you realize and the team expects for their role to expand, for their opportunity to increase based on the snap count and what is available to them based on the depth chart and the roster. Felix matters more than even Kingsley Suamataia because Kingsley is a rookie and Felix is not, even though the assumption is that Kingsley is the one who's actually battling for a starting spot, whereas Felix is trying to, I say, further solidify his role in the Chiefs defense as one of the better top end backups.
The group will be exactly the same as it was in the Super Bowl when Felix got a little bit of work. He was inactive throughout the playoffs in favor of Malik Herring, though. I think that goes a little bit under discussed in the look back because he had a big play in the Super Bowl. And hey, Felix had some work in the Super Bowl. He was activated because Charles Omenihu was out. That's what happened in that rotation. But Charles Omenihu, at this moment, not practicing. Of course, Nate and I think he'll be there in week 1, but some of us aren't haters. So Seth, in the defensive end rotation, it's the same guys. Felix has the snaps will be there for the taking, but he has to take them from at least Malik Herring. George and Dana on the edges are obviously your opening day starters, but there's work to be had. This team needs 3 or 4 defensive ends.
Yes. Basically, once Omenihu came back last year, it was him, George, and Mike. Those are the 3 guys. They got all the work because Chris Jones takes some snaps at the edge every now and then. And those guys rotate inside too, and they're good players, so you want them on the field, and you've got 3 of them, so you've got enough to rotate through. Tershawn Wharton grabs some snaps, not on the edge, but takes some of those inside pass rushing snaps. Felix has a chance here. He actually saw, it was around 15-ish snaps a game, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, before Omenihu came back last year. So he had a chance to distinguish himself. He didn't do it enough to really stay on the field. He barely saw the field afterward. He saw a ton of snaps in the last week of the season because the backups played and Chris Jones chasing that 1.25 mil. And he actually, and I wrote about him, that if you saw you see on a few of his snaps, some of the things that make him an intriguing prospect. He was able to walk Slater right into Herbert's lap, forcing a check down. And Slater is a high-end left tackle.
It wasn't Justin Herbert. He was on the sideline.
Yeah, it was Easton Stick.
What's his name? Yeah, Easton Stick. Boy, did I get that wrong in the Chief of the North newsletter.
Yeah, it was. People
can ask for their money back. Anyway,
Easton Stick, the same guy you get your youth blats from for youth softball, youth baseball.
Easton's. It's actually Seth has to. So we got a hard out at 5:30 today because Seth has to go teach Easton Stick about Vacation Bible School.
That's right. Yeah.
Definitely a kid at VBS.
Today he's gonna see whether the red racer or the blue blazer has won the race. And so I don't know what that. You know what? I almost took us a direction there, but I'm not going to.
That is either, but hope the rep team comes
from
through.
The thing. Well, Nate, when you're running the race of life.
Yeah, so you got a hard out in 20 minutes, Seth.
Okay,
and I'd love to know what you think about Felix.
So when Felix, what you see from him, he's got making Nate laugh just brings my heart so much joy. So Felix, you see he's got functional strength in his upper body. He's got the ability to layer pass rush moves together, and he's got a little bit of bend. He also has the worst jump at the line of any professional defensive lineman I've ever seen. And when I say that, I am not... Derek Nottie gets off the line faster than Felix. That is not hyperbole. That is a truth. You just watch it. Even on the good play where he was pressuring Easton Stick and not Justin Herbert, he's literally off the line slower than everyone else. I'm watching it right now.
He just likes to survey and see how the offensive tackle gets his set right Where is he setting? And then he attacks. There was also a moment, I don't want to derail this too much, but there was a moment last year where I burst out laughing because, of course, ladies and gentlemen, I have to rewatch these games. And one of the games that I had to rewatch was Chiefs versus Patriots. And I believe there was one snap, one of the few that Felix got on the field, and literally everybody's moving at the line of scrimmage except him.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
He seems like a perfectly decent athlete once he's moving. So I assume there's got to be something here that someone can teach him. There's got to be something. Like, there's no way. Joe Cullen is a very, very, very good defensive line coach. It's a little concerning that was in week 18, and it was still. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
He's surveying.
He's surveying.
Game's moving fast, coach. Just trying to catch up.
The fact that he was so productive in college despite that is remarkable and demonstrative of the skill set he has. Here's the deal, though. This is year 2. If by year 2 as a pass rusher, you can't with snaps available. It'd be one thing if it meant who were completely healthy, and hey, maybe he will be. I'm rooting for him. Who knows what might happen? You know, I personally think that there's every chance that he will be ready significantly sooner than people are expecting. So, with snaps potentially available, if he can't grab those snaps in year 2, there aren't a ton of pass rushers out there that are good pros that weren't at least somewhat functional in a rotation by year 2. That doesn't mean that it literally never happens. You can find everyone always like, well, what about this player that didn't really do anything till year 4? It happens, sure. But then you're betting on the exception and not the rule. So this is a huge year for Felix. And also, because of the skill set.
To be fair, as I look back here, statistically, in just 5 snaps against the New England Patriots, he did get a quarterback hit.
He wins. He gets a few wins in there. It looks like a perfectly valid skill set to build a pass rush around, but you never know.
The Chargers, I've been watching the Chargers snap for 5 minutes, man, and that I just glanced over at it again at the perfect moment of the snap like right after the snap happened, and everyone else has moved except for one guy.
It's crazy. Like
it's
never
so
see
noticeable.
That.
It's like he's listening for everyone else to move first. It's very weird. To your point, Seth, we talk about Joe Cullen a lot, rightfully so. We need to be consistent if we get to a point where, Joe Cullen worked with that guy until week 18, and that's what it looked like. I'm nervous. I'm just nervous.
Yes. Yep. And so this is his shot. So we'll see. Sorry. I yes-ended you there. I just am going through the list because there's a lot of fascinating choices throughout this, and you picked 14 guys. You actually may have with the honorable mentions. Not cornerback yet, Seth, but give me one more of the guys that you'll be most interested to see how things go tomorrow. Obviously, I can lead you down one path and say Xavier Worthy has not practiced since that first day. Illness, strep throat. I think maybe just Nate and I were talking about it towards the end of the show on Tuesday, but it certainly made sense to hold him out yesterday with an off day today. Yep. We all hope that he's in pads tomorrow. What can he prove when the pads do come on? Is that me or Nate?
It was originally a big wind up to you, so.
Yes.
Oh, that's on me.
Yeah.
All right.
No, that's okay.
Now, training camp. This is for getting reps in.
Exactly.
This is for getting reps in.
The Chiefs are off today. We're not. Okay, we're here, folks. So think about that.
So I'm going to cheat a little bit.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
That was a sock puppet for you audio-only listeners. And for you audio-only listeners, I need to tell you something that you're going to be able to read the details about on the screen right now. The Kings of KC tailgate coming up this Sunday, July 28th. At 10:30 is when the tailgate begins out at Kauffman before Royals Cubs. That's a day game there. First pitch at 1:10. You get there as early as 10:30 and support the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. Join KCSN and celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Kansas City Monarchs' inaugural Negro Leagues World Series championship in 1924. Go by, get a absolutely incredible shirt that I will be asking Tucker about the availability of momentarily, which you can see here. Or if you want to get all the details, you can check it all out online at the KCSN Twitter, socials across that. First 50 fans get that Monarchs t-shirt from Sandlot Goods, who I also love. No ticket required. You can just show up even if you're not going to the game. But, I mean, it feels like it's going to be a pretty good time if you want to get some baseball in on Sunday as well. So hang out with KCSN and support the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, one of the absolute best things about and in Kansas City. Of course, something to be proud of, something to celebrate on Sunday out there at the tailgate. Yes, Nate?
Josh, I have some reporting that I am going to give our audience via one of my guys, Tashawn Reed, from Casa Mesa, California. This is on The Athletic, ladies and gentlemen. Quote, a video of a Las Vegas Raiders safety, I guess he's a rookie, Trey Taylor, never heard of him, holding a Kermit the Frog doll, donning a Patrick Mahomes' Kansas City Chiefs jersey in a wig meant to mock Mahomes, circulated on social media Thursday. Yes, it did. The symbolism of the Kermit the Frog doll being used as it is a running joke about Mahomes' voice and how it sounds similar to that of the Sesame Street character. After
That's such good journalism.
That is an in-depth explanation. Thank you.
That's known for his song, It's Hard Being Green. Kermit the Frog first appeared.
Yes. After the Raiders training camp practice concluded, this is where it gets really interesting. Taylor and other players came over to the sideline to interact with fans who were in attendance. Yeah. One of those fans, Josh, how do you say this man's name? Jacapiti?
I can't believe the fans got named. That dude made a mistake. Okay, go ahead.
You're not gonna work here anymore. Sorry.
One of the fans, space. Josh, had brought the doll to practice and asked Taylor to hold it. Another fan, so not Josh, but another fan recorded Taylor holding the doll and uploaded it to X in a now deleted post. Now this is later in the blog that we have on our website. In the matchup in October 2022, Mahomes got into it with Raiders defensive end Max Crosby and shouted, "I'm here," in the direction repeatedly after throwing a touchdown pass. That interaction was captured on Netflix's quarterback documentary. Now, here's where it gets interesting, based on Tashawn's reporting from earlier this offseason. He ends it by saying the first matchup between the Raiders and the Chiefs, as we said before, is October 27th. It's in Vegas. Was already going to be a game to watch, but it's even more. But it has even more intrigue now that Mahomes and the Chiefs have even more bulletin board material to work with. Again, this is our Raiders beat writer. While the Raiders didn't plan the doll incident, they won't back down from any resulting animosity.
Okay. That's great.
I like it when the Raiders are playing the bad guys. It's just, you ought to win some games first. But you know what? You know what the Raiders can say that the Chiefs can't right now? The Raiders Stadium hosted a Super Bowl last year. That just happened. And the Chiefs haven't hosted a Super Bowl in the modern era. Certainly, I don't think there was ever an early AFL championship that I certainly would have predated the Chiefs at that point. So I'm gonna say checkmate Raiders actually.
So look, I just think it's fair that we give the people the information that is obviously valuable, and that's why you should subscribe to The Athletic so you can hear in great detail about the second day of Raiders training camp. I mean, my God.
Seth, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Xavier Worthy and what he could show you tomorrow when the pads come on. Sorry that sock cut you off earlier. That was weird. I gotta control my weird environment better.
Socks are gonna sock. I'm gonna cheat a little because I actually named 3 wide receivers
I have 2 that are none of those 3 that I want to talk about.
Oh, okay, well, never mind then. So I'm gonna
no, go ahead.
None of those 3. Okay, I'm with you. So here's the thing. First things first, we need to establish that wide receiver was by far the worst position group on the Chiefs last year.
Agreed.
By far. It was not close. Wasn't close. Bad enough to drag down the rest of the offense. That's just a fact. You can see it on film. Even messed with Mahomes' gameplay, which gave the Raiders a win that led to the hilarity that we've been talking about. So it's the biggest storyline of the offseason. If they can get even, like, it's not like Donovan Smith was great at left tackle last year. He was fine to below average at times in pass protection. If they can get that and their wide receiver room goes from what it was last year to competent, it's the 2022 offense. Or better, because you've got guys that are more varied. The reason I want to talk about all three receivers is because I've got a different reason why we're watching each receiver. So Xavier Worthy, hopefully, by the way, Zave, I don't know if people call you Zave. If they do, well, you probably don't want me calling you Zave. So Xavier, anyway, here's the deal.
X.
On behalf of men everywhere, you need to help us out, buddy. You've had strep throat for a few days. As a 39-year-old man, we are constantly trying to beat the rap for this so-called man sick that our significant others are constantly hassling us about. It's a bald-faced lie, and the reality is it's that germs are so much stronger when they enter us that it makes it more difficult for us. You have a chance to not become a part of that. So please, for the love of God, get better.
Pause?
Right.
It's just science. So anyway, the thing with Worthy that's worth watching, we talked about how it changes when you add the deep ball to the Chiefs offense, in that it stretches out the defense, forces them to defend every blade of grass. It opens up your entire playbook, all that stuff. The other thing with Worthy is he's separating, because the one day that we had him in a major practice, he was separating all over the field from what it sounds like, and they were really getting him involved. If that's the same thing with pads, then the question becomes not, well, is he going to be a legit deep threat? It's, is he going to be able to be a competent or above receiver in their offense in year one? Because that changes everything. Because Rashee Rice is competent, and it's looking more and more like he's going to be around at least at the beginning of the year. Hollywood Brown is competent. They could have their best receiver core in years if Worthy is just competent or above. That's a huge reason to watch him. Huge reason to watch Rice. Can he run routes that are, a little farther down the field? Just a little farther down the field. You don't need to have deep speed to get open deep. You need to be able to create a little separation on the back end, DeAndre Hopkins style. You can do that. That's why I'm curious about Rice. Is he going to build on what was one of the best rookie seasons any wide receiver has ever had? It's easy with everything that's happened, largely his fault, to overlook how great a rookie season Rice had. We've talked about here, arguably saved the Chiefs season. And then with Hollywood Brown, so I'm watching for something different for all three of them. So that's why I'm cheating here. With Hollywood Brown, he has been a good receiver his whole career. And he's really good. His skill set is at its best doing the things the Chiefs love. I want to see if they treat him like a legit wide receiver one. And the great thing is, Worthy's skill set and Brown's skill set and Rice's skill set and Kelsey's skill set, they all blend together really well. And it's really exciting. There's a ceiling there that is so much higher than what they did, not just last year, but in 2022 when they had the best offense in the league. So that's why with those three guys, it really does revolve around them. Because, let's say Rice is... There's so many scenarios here, right? If Rice takes a teeny tiny step forward, Hollywood Brown is who he's been his whole career, and Xavier Worthy is 90% of what the Chiefs think he is, they've got every chance at scoring 30 to 35 a game.
Real quick, while we're on receivers there, I'll just sneak in two guys that don't matter nearly as much as the rest of the players you just mentioned. So this is very training camp of me, but I don't know that these two guys are fighting for the same roster spot, or that they would need to be able to, that only one of these guys would make the team, I should say. But I want to see what Nico Remigio looks like with pads on as a little receiver who's done some very interesting things in shorts. Can you continue to be productive when the game gets more physical? And Sky Moore has had a bad start to camp, and he has issues with contact. I don't know if it's going to get better or worse for Sky Moore. I am losing optimism pretty quickly.
Lord, we pray that it gets better, because I don't know how it could get worse. I mean, but yeah, it's not been the smoothest start to training camp for him. So and this is the time when if he looked great during this stretch, I would have been like, too soon for the hype train. Got to see him do it through contact.
and he's stunk without pads on, and that test is coming tomorrow. So I'm interested in both of those guys because they're kind of their stock charts may be going in opposite directions. I also don't know. This is a real early call for you to make, Nate, but I don't know if the Chiefs would cut a second-round pick from a couple years ago to keep a guy they think they could probably sneak to their practice squad if they already have a bunch of shifty returners. On the other hand, I don't know if Sky Moore can do anything for you on special teams, and I know that Nico and several of these other guys can. So I'm conflicted there. I don't know if you've got any early thoughts on that or if you want to wait till tomorrow starts.
No. I do have thoughts on it. It's because of the slow start. I want to make that very clear. Because of the slow start in training camp, it's a possibility now. There's no real financial, based on the contract, there's no financial reasons to withhold you from making such a decision, even with the second round pick tied to him. As of right now, it appears that Nico Remigio does provide more special teams, more value on special teams. He's right now the top kickoff returner alongside Louis Rezamet. Because Xavier Worthy hasn't been practicing recently, it's been really him, Nico, and Kadarius Toney at punt return. With the pads, you're going to see a little bit more. Obviously, you're going to see a lot more action. So if Nico Remigio can get through training camp, can continue to perform the way he's been performing, show some ability in the preseason, it actually does become more difficult to keep him because now everybody has more tape on him.
Yeah.
And with Sky Moore, as I've said before, I don't know. It's been hard to identify what his role is. And so as the practices get more valuable because of pads, because you get closer to the preseason, the hope is for them to figure that out. I thought it was very interesting that McCole Harmon earlier, on Sunday in his press availability said, Xavier, top speed, Hollywood, like great receiver. You got me doing gadget stuff. You got obviously Justin Watson. Everybody knows what he does. Do you remember the way he labeled Sky Moore, Josh? Do you remember the way McCole Hartman labeled Sky Moore?
I don't. I think I was writing up something else before that, so I do not remember the details of what McCole Hartman said there. What did he say?
McCole labeled Sky Moore as route runner. So if that's the case, it's time to sort of see it, which gives you an indication that, hey, he might be running from the slot. He could be a guy who could work on the outside, but the trait that McCole gave him is he's a route runner guy. Obviously, when he talked about Rashee Rice, he talked about crossers underneath, yards after the catch. We all know that. So there have been some good routes, but it's about that other thing when the ball arrives.
We're just 1 year away. Next training camp, we're gonna be like Sky Moore getting into the offense as a running back. Like we talked about that as a rookie actually too, but that's where we're at. He's on that.
Here's the thing. It's so tough. George Karlaftis is not blowing up Sky Moore right now because Sky Moore doesn't have the ball. You know who's got the ball all the training camp? Kadarius Toney. Kadarius
Toney's had the ball except for he's thrown it at George Karlaftis.
That's right.
As captured by Tucker D. Franklin.
That's right.
Seth, I am deep. Well, I'm not that sorry. I was going to say I was deeply apologetic that we have yet again snoozed the cornerback slot corner discussion because I know you want to yell about it and I also want to talk about it and all shuffle that together. So we will do that on Tuesday because you've got a dip. And Tucker, if you want to hop into the two shot, Seth, you can give your farewells. Nate, I want to just talk about the running backs briefly and then we'll still get out of here in under an hour. Seth has just disappeared. Just as quickly as he entered, he vanished. We will talk about the slot corner thing, and hopefully you'll have some more info, Nate, because you'll also be seeing in full pads Shamari Connor, who is on Seth's list. Shamari Connor without Justin Reed. Is that going to change anything in the safety rotation? We'll get there on Tuesday. But where are we at on the third running back right now? Before pads come on, if you have to, I don't know if you are going to do an early roster projection or anything like that, how would you delineate? Pacheco's obviously one. I assume Clyde is obviously two.
Yes.
I'd love it if somebody else wanted to be the second best running back on this team. But I don't know who the third, fourth, or fifth best running backs are on this team right now.
Correct. And people should look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire as an insurance policy on Isaiah Pacheco.
Like one of those insurance policies, or if you wreck your car, they give you like $500 and it's like, it's insurance.
It's insurance. It's an insurance policy just in case something were to go awry. Now, what's been fascinating, and I wonder if his repetitions will increase, but they've been giving Isaiah Pacheco 1 rep, Clyde Edwards-Helaire 1 rep. Get the hell out of here!
Yeah, right.
So that we can evaluate.
We got some stuff to learn.
So that we can evaluate everyone else. So I wonder if that'll continue. But it's just so fun to know that Deneric Prince, literally by default, is RB3, even though he hasn't necessarily earned RB3 for any particular reason other than, well, he was here last year, right? Yeah, RB3. That's
veteran, the UDFA of last season.
I think Lewis is probably 4 based on what we've seen so far. And who do you think he's going to line up against tomorrow? I don't know if they'll do exactly one-on-ones, blitzing, here comes the blitzing safety and or linebacker from the B gap, and son, protect him as if your life's on the line. I don't know if they'll do that tomorrow to open the pass, but it'll happen over the course. We'll probably have enough evidence by Tuesday's show, so just keep that in mind. Whether it's as I look here, Cole Christensen, Cam Jones, Leo Chenal. Just saying.
Oh man, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Leo versus Lewis. I don't.
Kids, back in the old days, when I played football, we used to do a drill called the Oklahoma drill, and it was the worst. But
it was also kind of the best, but it was definitely the worst. But
it was definitely the worst. And so, depending on how lunatic the coach was that you had given your life to, we would line up. We would all line up opposite of one another, and you do one of these.
And you start counting. Absolutely.
You get in front of me.
Absolutely start counting. Oh man, there's some sad moments that happen in there too. It's like, no, we know how this is gonna go. That's the senior quarterback, the senior option quarterback, and that kid's 135 pounds.
Hey. After I do this rep, switch with me, okay? Because then I'm trying to show coach that I got heart, okay, but not too much right now. Okay.
I need to show coach that I have heart, but I also need to have a pulse at the end of this rep.
So true.
It's really what it was.
And so, coach blow the whistle. I guess I'm next. Ooh! Oh my God. Okay.
Nate, everything that the scene you just said, I can't explain. I don't think I can explain this properly. I miss that with every fiber of my being, and I would not do it for $100 cash right now. No shot. Like I'm never gonna do it again. But man, I wish I could do it again.
Okay, kids. All right, here's the ball. All right. Here we go.
What was the point of us laying on our backs and having coach hand us the ball, by the way? Like we're helmet to helmet. Guys, that's not how it works.
No, I also used to love it when you had like essentially your teammate is supposed to be the fullback, and they would sort of widen the lane where so you got the linebacker, the fullback, and then you have the safety, and then the running back or wide receiver, cornerback, because that was my group. And then you just blow the whistle, and depending on your attitude that day or how hot it was, or whether you like the same girl, depending on the intensity level of the collision. Now, if we're boys, we're gonna do it, but we're gonna do it with some discretion, right?
That's right.
If he said you said he was talking to Sheila. Okay. Let me
I'm gonna talk to him with my shoulder.
let me see what practice is like. Uh, so that's what it's gonna be for Lewis. Hey, Lewis, if you're in the same number in the line to Leo Chenal, I'm recommending that you up or get in front. Get in front of someone who's not Leo Chenal, okay? And hope that Justin Reed's hurt. I mean, he can't even help you in this. Justin Reed, I think, would be the most veteran to be like, see, this is what you did wrong.
You know who you need? You need Dion Bush. He's a vet. He started on the practice squad last year. He's not trying to prove a whole lot. Like,
He's like, how old is Dion Bush? Dion Bush is one of the oldest guys on the team. He's 30, right? He's got to protect his own body. Right?
Exactly.
And so he'll protect you, but also teach you, hey, your shoulders weren't square enough, or hey, your hands are all over the place. Jack Conklin going to kill you. Jack Cochran wants food on his plate, and in order to get it, he's got to go through you, Lewis. So God bless you, son. Peace be to you.
Tucker, if it's possible, can the title of this episode just be Jack Cochran's gonna kill you? I think
it's funny because like we've already sort of seen it. There was one moment, I can't remember who it was, but somebody caught a pass on the boundary, and Jack Cochran just shoved him out of bounds, and we're like, son, it's no pads, no
pads, man.
No, you can touch him, but like you don't have to push him. So like you can tell the guys on defense are ready to go. But I would put Lewis at RB4. And then, somebody to just keep in mind is Keontae Ingram.
That's been the guy that kind of makes sense from like a room dynamic standpoint, like skill sets and everything. But do you think that's like, is with that tiering 3 to 5, that's a real competition to you?
Yes, these are looking at my notes and going over the roster, seeing it with my eyes here. I think these are the players that we should be invested in. I know some people will ask about Carson Steele. They really haven't put him at fullback. I don't know when that's going to happen or if it's going to happen, but I think he's probably more or less competing for practice squad, where like a third-year player such as Keontae, he's trying to make the roster. Lewis is trying to make the roster for all the reasons we mentioned earlier. And look, Deneric Prince has the inside track. He's by default running back 3, but the other 2 guys will try to do their best to push him for that running back spot. And hey, again, depending on how special teams go, that'll decide whether you need 4 running backs or you're comfortable with 3 based on how the preseason goes.
The only Carson Steele clip I've seen from the KCSN Twitter was, I think it was like back-to-back, or it was back-to-back, but I think Tucker tweeted out the videos back-to-back of Kadarius Toney with a little like kind of stretch toss, and then Carson Steele running the same thing. I wish the best for Carson Steele. I think those locks and that number deserve to at least get a practice squad spot.
Oh, for sure.
But watching those 2 guys run the same motion is a really good indicator of, or a good reminder of what Kadarius Toney looks like compared to still maybe the best athlete from his college, and certainly the best athlete out of his high school. And all of like Kadarius Toney's just completely different that way.
Yeah.
And guys, just to be clear, it may not even matter, but you can see it.
Yeah, Carson.
Tucker says Carson Steele won Mr. Football in Indiana.
Yes, and people have to remember too, carried UCLA's offense literally on his back last year. Carried them. I
support him. I want that to happen. Yeah, but watching those 2 clips was like, oh man. Different.
Yes, he was a above average, very good college football player, and he looks like he's not in the same galaxy next to another guy who was really good in college. That's I think that's the biggest. Honestly, it's one of the best ways to explain the difference between college and the pros. Just the idea of like, we don't even know if Kadarius Toney is going to make the roster, but he just moves in a way that is just like God-given and obviously very skilled and a polished. Sometimes you even look at Kadarius Toney's routes and I'm like, you're just dicking around out here.
Right.
Because you can.
You can get away with it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Sky Moore's like, I need to get every step of this.
It's counting every step of
every
landmark
of this, right? And that's okay. That's what's made Sky Moore successful. Is like doing like squeezing every part of the juice out of his body, and it still may not be enough. Whereas Kadarius could just do anything. So when we like Nagy yesterday, he's like, his answer was almost like, I mean, you guys are seeing the same thing we're seeing, right? Like, did you see what he did out of the backfield last year? Can we do that like twice as much?
Right. And that might be enough for him to be like a difference maker.
Because we don't have a running back 3. We don't. No one. Don't even mention that we don't have a running back 3. Like, I want to talk about Kadarius, and that's it. Okay,
that's actually the only running back them depth chart I want to talk.
He's marvelous. He's beautiful. He's so multifaceted. Because I don't know who can protect the quarterback on third down. Okay, so
what if Kadarius Toney is just a natural pass protector? Also, we just never figured it out.
It's one of the funniest things. Like, will they put him in that line just because? I mean,
I guess I'd like to see it. I guess.
Yeah, I know Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire can pass protect. I don't know a single thing about anybody else when it comes to can we rely on you on third down if we anticipate a blitz is coming and Patrick and Creed Humphrey are gonna put the protection in a certain way where it kind of rises and falls on you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's what the pads are for. So make sure you're following the KCSN Twitter account. Tucker will be putting out videos. You can check out all the KCSN socials, and of course follow Nate at by Nate Taylor for his live happenings and reactions, and then of course everything on The Athletic. We'll be back on Tuesday to talk about what we've seen over those. We have four padded practices in that window, I think.
Yeah, we'll have 4, I believe.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, off on Tuesday, probably, right?
Yeah, I think if coach is generous, which he usually is not at training camp, maybe he'll give you a day in shells and not pads. But again, that's if he's generous.
Have you considered showing up tomorrow with shoulder pads and a helmet on? I think walking up the hill. I think that'd be a good idea.
Can you imagine what the guys would say?
It'd be killer. It would be incredible. I think you would. I mean, I feel like you already. I was like, you went over everybody. You don't. You have the reputation to execute that. The question would be if they could all convince you to keep it on for the presser afterwards, because that is what I would pay cash money for.
Yeah. There's no video of this, none. But this is like years ago. Still in St. Joe. They, I think Tucker's gotten video of this of Travis Kelce being like, fine, okay. I mean, got to another practice. Let me hit the individual sled just a couple times, get my form right. Let me show the guys what it's like to work after practice. I can't say it to them if I don't show them. So he makes the long, slow trudge. But over there used to be more of those kind of sleds, individual sleds, by the media tent. And somebody dared me, and I hit it, and it was great. And there's no video of this. There's never gonna be video of this. I was a lot younger back then. The leg strength I had was 10 times what I possess now. But yeah, you could sort of push on it and just be like, okay. So all right, well, hold on a second. Let me do this and then the long arm, and let me do this and then the swim. And so you just kind of put it out there. Obviously it provided a little tickle and levity to folks in another doldrum of training camp practice number. What day is it? I can't wait to get to that point in camp where it's like, I don't know what day it is. How many of these we got left? The countdown hasn't begun. The last thing though, Josh,
you can get us out of here whenever you please as well. You can dismount right on this.
Tucker.
Go ahead.
All right, Tucker, we're in it now, kid.
We're in it now.
All right.
Still clearing an hour, which makes me feel good.
Yes. This is for you, Josh. You're one of those people. You might not come to training camp, and that's okay.
It's possible.
That's okay. I understand. If you are on the fence, dear sir, young madam, let me encourage you to get in your car.
Okay.
Get in your car. Get one of them free tickets on the website. If you need to pay $5 to get the parking, whatever. You know, I had the same conversation with my dad. And I said, look, this is about is just a car ride. It's going to be hot. Drink some water. But ladies and gentlemen, he's worth it.
No.
He's so worth it. If you're on the fence, get in your car and see this man throw the football. It's absurd. It really is. There are reps already in camp that I just say, who the hell can do that? You know, it's just like one of those things in like a league of their own where they're like, I mean, she's Dottie Henson. I mean, like, who can do that? I'm just the lady from the Racine Bale saying, who can do that? I can't do that. You know, like he has such good throw. He hasn't even done a behind the back pass yet, guys. And you know what's gonna happen. So get in your car and come watch the greatest human being throwing the football right now. I cannot overstate how hard it is to roll to your left and just say, you know what? I'm just going to throw it 60 yards in the air because I can, because I want to. Matt Nagy said, I have to keep my emotions in check. And I said, hell no.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. No one else can do that, sir. Come on. You know, some of these teams don't even let fans come to training camp because of, you know, stupidity. But anyway, like if you're a football fan, he's Dottie Henson. And it's not close, okay? And every time Dottie Henson finishes his last rep, there's Kit Keller, and his name is Carson Wentz. Poor Carson. You know, every now and then, Carson has a good rep. And you're like, you know what? That's right. They did do you right. But also, for the sake of training camp, for the sake of you coming out here, yeah, I'll do the splits and catch the ball. I'll just do it. Because I'm Dottie Henson.
You said just make the drive. He's worth it. And I thought for sure you were talking about Louis 3 Salmon.
He's also worth it too, kids.
I'll be there.
Let that sweat glisten right on you.